All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krueg Show with a little 49er video. Make sure you check out Pig and a Pickle, 2 locations. They're in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in Marin from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Wednesday through Sunday in Emeryville, inside the Emeryville Public Marketplace. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. All right, let's jump to the 49er story of the day. Pretty interesting piece today on ESPN's website from our good friend Nick Wagner, the ESPN staff writer. It's entitled Quarterback and 3 More Issues Looming as the 49ers begin their OTAs. Now, the 49ers right now are between their rookie minicamp and their OTAs, which gets going next week down in Santa Clara. And let's just talk about it. The first question Nick has is who's under center. It's not going to be Brock Purdy for the OTAs. That much we know. Purdy's still recovering from surgery on the ulnar collateral ligament in his right elbow. He, according to all reports, he appears to be on schedule and will begin begin his throwing program in early June. At that point, the 49ers are going to have a much better idea of his return to the field, return to the starting lineup timeline, and things could change dramatically at that point once they see him throwing after surgery. So as far as these OTAs are concerned, who's going to be under center? Well, it's going to be Trey Lance and Sam Darnold and Brandon Allen. Those are the 3 quarterbacks who are under contract. Shanahan has indicated that Lance and Darnold will somehow split the first team reps. Do they split them 50-50? Do they split them 90-10? We don't know. That'll be one of the interesting subplots of OTAs. What is the split? Is it 1-for-1 and they're literally 50-50 split? Or is somebody given a higher percentage of the first team reps? If anybody is going to get the higher percentage of the first team reps, I would think it would be Trey Lance, just simply from the standpoint he knows the offense better. He's been in this offense the longest, and probably at this point could maybe even teach it. So I would imagine he'll get the if there is a majority of the reps to be given with the first team, my guess is it will go to Trey Lance. But we have no idea what the pecking order is going to be, and we'll see. We'll see where it goes. But I expect to see Trey Lance. I expect to see Sam Darnold, and I expect to see Brandon Allen in some capacity. And it will be really interesting because this will be the first time we'll get a chance to see, this year, Trey Lance after his ankle injuries back on the field. No more issues with his pinky, no more issues with his throwing motion, no more issues with the ankle. And now we're going to see Trey, after his offseason work, his work with Mahomes, his learning of his further learning of the incredibly complex system, and physically right for the first time, maybe ever, or at least in a long time. So we're going to get to see the best of Trey Lance. Then when it comes to Sam Darnold, we're going to get to see exactly what everybody else has been, hailing as Sam Darnold looks awesome. Sam Darnold this, Sam Darnold that. Everybody's been whispering that Sam Darnold's the guy. Sam Darnold, Louis Riddick just came out with hey, one of my sources told me, man, wait until you see Sam Darnold. And so there's a lot of anticipation over Sam Darnold and what he looks like. And then I think we're all going to take an extra look at Brandon Allen just from the standpoint of, last year, the Niners needed every quarterback they had. And so is Brandon Allen, is he a guy that can play if he has to play? Or is he another guy who's really just there to be like an insurance policy? And if he actually had to play, they would maybe go in a different direction. So I'm eager to see all 3 quarterbacks, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, Brandon Allen. What do they look like in the Niners scheme? Obviously, it's most important for Lance because Lance is the guy who the investment's been made in, and he had a chipped bone in his right pointer finger that slowed his development. Obviously, the ankle was a major injury; had to have multiple surgeries on that. So, John Lynch says that Trey knows, what the expectations are. He knows that his mindset's all about just competing, and they're excited about Trey. So we shall see. This will be our first look at Trey and Darnold together in the beginning of this quarterback competition that is almost sure to show itself again come July in training camp. So that's number 1. Number 2 is that Nick's speculating on is Nick Bosa. And when will Bosa get his big payday? My guess is Bosa will get paid literally they'll work it out. They probably have already worked it out as far as the numbers, and they will make the formal announcement right before training camp starts. I don't believe Nick Bosa takes the field without that market setting contract extension that we all expect him to get being finalized and signed. I don't think he's going to risk anything physically on the field this summer without that big payday. So they've pushed it off as long as they can. I don't think there's any acrimony between the two sides. The Niners love Bosa. Bosa loves being a Niner. They're going to gladly pay him like they did Fred Warner, like they did George Kittle, like they did Deebo Samuel. And my guess is it will be announced literally the morning he's going to take the field or possibly the day before. So right before the 49ers' first on-field workout, Nick Bosa's big payday will get announced. And at that point, that will also clear up a lot of cap room. I would not be surprised if the Nick Bosa move came with another move as well. The other thing that Nick is speculating on in this article are more roster moves coming. The 49ers did a restructure going into the draft on Christian McCaffrey, and it opened up $8.5 million in additional cap space. And a lot of people wondered then, what was the reason? And they were, Lynch has basically said, well, we just needed room to sign our rookie class, but they're going to be able to get that with Bosa. But they did wind up signing their rookie class ahead of time. So they used that money from McCaffrey's restructure to pay their rookies. They did do it going into the draft, which made you think that maybe they would entertain a trade because they definitely had cap flexibility at that point in time. But now, when Bosa redoes his deal, that will create more cap room for the 49ers as well. There are a lot of premium edge rushers still in the market. Frank Clark, Jadeveon Clowney, Leonard Floyd, Justin Houston, Jason Pierre-Paul, Yannick Ngakoue. They're all out there. They're all free agents still. And it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if they signed Bosa, created that cap room, and then poured some of that additional cap room into a veteran edge piece. To me, that's the final piece to the puzzle. So look for that potentially around camp. And then the other angle that Nick is talking about is what's the Niner offensive line going to look like? The 49ers returned 4 of their 5 starters along the offensive line. And the one that they have to replace is Mike McGlinchey, who jets to the Broncos, signed a 5-year, $87.5 million deal with the Broncos in March in free agency. And so the Niners did not go into the draft and find his replacement. They're going to make swing tackle Colton McKivitz their starter at right tackle. Now, this one's interesting. McKivitz has started just 5 games since the Niners drafted him in the 5th round in 2020. They gave him that gold helmet designation. They liked him so much. But after that point, they waived him. So, he's now he's one of their favorites. They're going to plug him in at right tackle. And they signed him to a 2-year, $4.56 million extension this offseason. And I thought the quote from Shanahan in the Wagner piece was really interesting. He says, you can win with Colton. He's been here for a while. When he has played, we've won games with him. I get how not everyone else knows about them as much because they haven't seen them. But we're going to do to the draft. We were going to that draft hoping to find depth and hoping to find some competition. But to go into the draft and think you're going to find someone to start over someone like Colton McKivitz or as good as Colton McKivitz can be and has been would be very unusual. In other words, they didn't feel like the draft could produce a player that was going to be a more efficient player than Colton McKivitz. So McKivitz is your starter at right tackle. And to me, this is not much ado about nothing. But this disrespect for Colton McKivitz is wrong. McKivitz is a good player, and I think he's going to be a better pass protector than Mike McGlinchey was. McGlinchey really struggled to kick outside against speed rushers, and it just threw off his balance. He had to lunge to get out there, and it just made him susceptible to counters inside and losing balance and losing his feet. And it happened repeatedly. I think McKivitz is going to get out there more naturally. I don't think he's going to have that problem. Now, is he the same run blocker that McGlinchey is? Probably not. but I think he's in a pass happy league. You got to make sure you got a big time pass protector. And I think McKivitz can more than hold his own there. So I like McKivitz. And then you got Spencer Burford, you got Nick Sakel, you've got Matt Pryor. You got Watson, who's a second-year player who looks a lot better. You have some other options there in camp as well. And they could always try to bring in a veteran, a street free agent if they felt like they needed it. But McKivitz, I think, steps into McGlinchey's shoes and they don't miss a beat, similarly to the way that Jake Brendel stepped in for Alex Mack the year before at the center spot and became a Pro Bowl alternate. I think McKivitz has got a lot more ability than people think. I think he's going to be one of the pleasant surprises of 49er training camp. So there you have it. How will the Niner offensive line look? I think it's going to look just fine because I believe in Colton McKivitz. When will there be more roster moves coming? Only after the Bosa deal gets done. When will we see the Bosa deal get done? Probably on the first day of training camp before they hit the field. And then the big question is who's under center? And get ready to see Lance, Darnold, and Brandon Allen in this camp. Get ready to see Lance and Darnold and Allen this summer. The only question is, we'll find out later in June, will Brock Purdy be joining them in workouts this summer, or will it just be the three quarterbacks competing for the quarterback hierarchy this July and August in Santa Clara? Should be an interesting summer. Great piece by Nick Wagner. Go to ESPN.com. Check it out. Thanks for checking out our 49er video. And make sure you check out Pig and a Pickle. They're in Emeryville and Corte Madera. And thanks to all of you for supporting the Krueg Show on YouTube.